Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park. Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to minute 26 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and once again, I'm being joined by my returning guest host.
Mitchell, thank you for having me again.
Thank you for joining me again. Sorry at laughing at your reaction, but I just... the previous minute had the same sort of pointing out, like Candace was doing that, and there was a bit of a pause, and I'm like, yep, so far, everyone that's been a regular is always like waiting, and I do my introduction to me, and then I pause, and then everyone's like, 2, 3. Oh, wait, I should be speaking now.
Yeah,
So
I always expect you to say my name, and I'm always oh shit, that's me.
Yeah, exactly.
My turn.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure you'll catch on eventually.
Yeah, not after like my 4th or whatever this is. Yeah, I will eventually after my 50th or something.
Yeah. All right. So minute 26 starts off with Bert yet again running his fingers through his hair and ends with 9:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So having just gone through what they did, and for those of you who did not listen to the previous minute, this is where they've finally got the headless cadaver hogtied to the ground, its head still spiked into the ground from the axe pick. All right. So, and this is the 3 gentlemen recuperating. So having just, like I said, gone through what they just did, Frank still is in panic mode. However, he's definitely gotten control of his volume. Freddy is completely lost. This encounter is more than anything that his young psyche can handle. Bert's fingers are working overtime as he drags his fingers through his hair. It's definitely an intense situation because after one, and he begins pacing around the others, only to use both hands to comb through his fingers to try and jumpstart another idea. As Bert walks around, a panicked Frank, holding back tears, watches him closely, only to glance over at Freddy, who now starts to sound panicked as well.
What are we gonna do?
Asking about the next step. With his head hung low, fingers tracing the full length of his mane, Bert wanders further away from the others. But something strikes him. He raises his head, looking upwards slightly. Seeing that Bert might have a solution, Frank calls his name.
Bert!
But his response, that's Bert's response, is to dash forward. Caught off guard, Freddy panic-filled questions his action.
Where are you going?
Frank follows Bert's path. Bert's actions are to ascend a rolling staircase, like the ones in the department stores where, only employees are supposed to use to get stuff off the top racks.
Always tempted to ignore the employee-only signs and climb up, even if I want to just go 2 or 3 steps. But I'm a lawful good kind of person, and I resist.
And boring.
Yeah, and boring. And like I've worked in a warehouse before, and I've been on elevator like scaffolding and stuff before, so it's not really a big deal. It's more the allure of doing not what you're not supposed to do.
Exactly. Yeah. So the quick pace to the top causes the metal tubular structure to sway back and forth. The top of the stairs allows him to look out the frosted/dirty windows. He gleams into the distance as he begins relaying his new plan by informing the others that his friend Ernie...
Sometimes Ernie Caldenbrunner works late on Friday nights.
His situation of working late on Fridays.
That bastard.
Yeah.
Well, who's Ernie Caldenbrunner?
In the background, Freddy questions who is that, while Frank exhaustedly leans against a Coke machine for support. Quietly signals to Freddy not to talk any further. Bert, now face extremely close to one of the panes of the glass, a small portion wiped away so he can see clearer, mentions how Ernie works at the mortuary across the street.
Is the embalmer at the mortuary across the street?
And after wiping the glass again, Freddy continues to question his involvement.
Well, what the hell's he gonna do for us?
Now Bert can clearly see the lights are on and relays the information to the others.
His light's on. He's in.
And now, with what sounds like 2 steps only, walks back to Frank and Freddy, all the while explaining his plan by pointing out about the crematorium.
Ernie's got a crematorium across the street, Frank.
Instantly, Frank realizes the brilliance of the idea.
Crematorium, that's beautiful.
Not sure if Ernie will play ball.
You think you can get him to go along with it?
Bert voices the length of their friendship.
I don't know. I've known Ernie about 25 years. He might drift out of friendship. I'm not sure.
And then Frank questions Ernie's loyalty.
Yeah, but what the hell are you gonna tell him? I mean, can you trust that bastard?
Bert reflectively looks back towards the window.
I don't think we have a choice, Frank.
With a slight shudder, Freddy asks,
How are we gonna get this thing over there?
reserved as to what has got to happen, Frank dramatically steps forward, filling most of the frame, and almost completely resigned to the task, calls,
Give me the bone saw.
So one of the things before we cut to the last couple seconds of this minute, which gets us into ending the minute of this, when we have the shot of just a couple of seconds ago, when we have Frank and Freddy down on the ground looking up at Bert on the walk, the stairs. Notice in the background the giant box of specimen worms that is that is there. It's a giant cardboard box with the giant words "specimen worms" in it. Now there's throughout the early scenes and all that, there was stuff like beakers and all that written on this whole entire wall, but this is the first time that something has been so prominently featured in the shot and so abstractly large for a box of specimens. Like, how many freaking specimens of worms do you have in this particular box?
So I've seen this film a bunch of times, and I've rewatched this clip a few times as well. And I never noticed until I'm for the audience. I'm rewatching it as Troy's narrating it, just so I'm, getting both the visual. I'm getting the perspectives of it.
Yeah.
And just like a garage or something on the Coke machine, there's a whole bunch of photos of naked and half naked women, and I never noticed it before. And I know in previous chats we talked about how they had to censor the jacket, and part of me is like, did they ever catch that? Because only if you're pausing it would you notice it. Or is this a when it goes live to TV, they usually trim a few seconds here or there just to fit the schedule. Do they just trim that just because they know it exists?
I would think for that particular shot, they would probably, if not do an actual blur of it, they might do because you would have the technology, you do a little bit of a crop. You do a little bit of a final crop, which, I mean, in the day, it would probably be a little more difficult than you would be able to do now, sort of thing.
Also, when this came out, what was the year this came out again? I'm forgetting.
This is 85.
85. So we were having 4x3 up to the late 90s anyway.
So chances are
pan and scan.
That whole entire scene would probably be pan and scan when you go between from the shot where Freddy's on one side and Bert's on the other. You'd be panning and scanning back and forth.
It would just be cropped on the two gentlemen. You just see his hands slightly out of frame.
He'd be out of frame
for something.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe for specimen worms. We don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah, exactly. What I also want to point out is, as you were mentioning how this would have been edited and all that, of course, Trash's scene probably previous would have been completely... I'd love to see the television edit of Trash's striptease.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Yeah. But
that might have been a jump, a full segment cut scene.
Yeah, that might be just from the, hey, Trash is about to take off her top, and then they do, again, they probably do a crop shot of just the sequence where her legs are cut to the guys, hey, are you on anything and whatnot, and but
unless it's a screening after 11 or something kind of thing on a channel that has a little more leeway, but even then.
Well, for them to go through the effort of refilming the scenes with the television edit shirt and jacket. So what I was going to point out is, seeing you pointed out the pinup girls, the naked girls on the actual side of the Coke fridge. If you look, there's
It's like
The
bikers.
one woman is like it's full frontal nudity. Like
Yeah.
we have everything, and it's a mid '80s, so it's a nice display of bush as well, which is kind of funny how they were scared of showing Trash's
Yeah.
bush, had her shave it, then realized, well, that's even worse. So they made the prosthetic replacement piece to have this background sequence where this, and again, it's something you don't notice unless you're looking for it and all that sort of thing. But the fact that they have full
Yeah.
female nudity in this one whole entire thing that obviously slipped past the producers who, didn't happen to be on set when the pretty girl got naked,
Yeah.
apparently. Yeah, just the coincidence that happened to happen. So that being said, we then briefly cut to the cemetery where the section of the song of "Party Time" by the 45 Grave is playing. The view of the graveyard doesn't show any of the punks except for the two sets of flares swinging around and the sounds of the crowd being rowdy. The timestamp of 9:16 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time pops up onto the shot, and that's where we end our minute.
It's a great minute because it's the eureka moment that becomes the catalyst for everything forwards and potentially after the film.
Yep.
If they didn't have this brilliant idea of disposing of the body, a lot of problems probably wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used in the previous minute the allegory of we are about to crest the very beginning of the roller coaster, the very first
Yeah.
incline, and we're about to go over the edge because
Yeah.
as soon as we get past that edge, the movie is pretty much almost nonstop for
Yeah, like there's no turning back, and
nope.
It's nothing but chaos and bodily fluids and vomit and stuff.
It is.
Yeah,
That is for sure.
yeah.
That is for sure. Yeah.
I just have two images in my head. One of like zombies on a roller coasters and
Mm-hmm.
them trying to reach out, and then the Batman animated series episode of Batman climbing along the roller coaster to try and capture the
Yes.
Joker.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
In the episode where he pretends to be a party clown and kidnaps the mayor's son.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then I had the image of zombies climbing over instead of Batman, so it's kind of a weird little mashup that's
Okay.
going on.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay then.
Yeah, no, just something random to share.
All right, so over on the commentary track, which is with director and writer Dan O'Bannon and production designer William Stout. Dan O'Bannon finishes off the vaguely remembering the fact that Clu Gallagher survives to the end of the movie. When William Stout points out until he gets nuked, Dan then adds that everyone gets bombed. As Clu Gallagher goes up the rolling stairwell, William Stout points out that this is how they couldn't afford to film the wide shot showing the mortuary, and Dan expresses his disappointment of not getting it. So Williams talks about the compromise of Clue wiping the window, looking out, and mentioning the lights are on. Dan again mentions wanting to see the mortuary, but resolves that it's one of the things that they don't get because, to quote, time and tide happens to us all.
I have a weird Mandela effect where I could have sworn that there is an aerial or like with the rain or something like that, but maybe they didn't have a dry shot of it, and that's what they're lamenting.
Well, coming up in the next few minutes, we have from inside the cemetery, we have Casey's view, and she sees Freddie helping those guys carry something into the mortuary. So that's
Oh,
the
okay.
only really, until we actually get to the mortuary, that's the only pretty much exterior thing that we see
Okay.
of it. And that's because then Chuck is like, no, that can't be Fred because what would he be doing going into the mortuary and all that sort of thing. So
I might be thinking of something, another roller coaster zombie situation of meshing up another film. Like I just for some reason thought there was an aerial going to underground during the rain, but I digress and yeah, never mind.
all right. So after a bit of a pause, he mentions that's Dan O'Bannon, how they have to keep spraying down James Cameron's shirt because at a certain point they didn't need to because it was getting quite steamy on those sets. And just as the commentary cuts in, William Stout says here we go. When they get to the cemetery, when it cuts to the cemetery, he says, here we go. And how they had to rent every tombstone that Universal had for rent for this particular sequence. And now that's where we end this particular minute.
That is something I didn't consider, the prop tombstone industry,
Yeah.
because for some reason I would just assume they would just make tombstones for every film, but that seems highly not uneconomical, and
Hmm.
it's just easier to have a stockpile of. It's like
Yeah,
the newspaper that's used in every TV show. It's the exact same
exactly. Yeah.
newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need any special tombstones. Let's just have the John Doe ones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was like one or two that they actually crafted themselves because
Yeah,
we talked in the commentary tracks about how the Weeping Angel one was one that was created and how it made its life after it by being rented out by its new owner to pay for the fact that he didn't get paid to make it to in the first place.
yeah,
But yeah, again, when you're doing something where you need a huge amount of not
yeah.
very distinct tombstones, you're
Out of
gonna have a
focus
rental.
stuff.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
they
Just
really do layer these these tombstones really close together and all that.
they're packed in there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so according to the script, which is the story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon, this is the revision from October 1983, and it's based on a story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. All right, so again, this whole entire sequence, like this whole entire series of minutes where we're just in the warehouse dealing with the three of them dealing with the cadaver, are really very short little blurbs in the script that obviously you're gonna, with more action and improvised lines and all that sort of thing, you're gonna stretch out and all that. So we're just gonna go with what we have here. So Bert paces around the room, runs fingers through his hair. Bert thinking, sometimes Ernie Kellenberner works late on Friday nights. Bert goes out to the window, pulls open the blinds, and looks out. Freddie, who's Ernie Kellenberner? Bert, he's in a bomber at the mortuary across the street. Points out the window. Their POV. So apparently the script has the shot that Dan O'Bannon wanted. So their POV across the street. A light burns in a window at the back of the Resurrection Funeral Home. A car is parked near the back door. Bert continues. That's his car. He's in. Freddie. What the hell's he gonna do for us? Bert. He's got a crematorium over there. Frank. A crematorium. That's good. But do you think he'll go along with it? Bert. I've known Ernie for 25 years. I think he'll do it out of friendship. Frank. But what are you gonna tell him? Can you trust him? Bert. I'll have to. Freddie. How are we gonna transport this thing over there? Bert studies a struggling corpse and head. Bert. Get the bone saw. Cut to exterior cemetery night. The punks are running around, whooping, carrying road flares. Portable ghetto blaster stereo tape deck FM radio is blaring their accompaniment. I love how the description of the player is just so like what, huh? Ghetto blaster stereo tape deck FM radio. Like,
They're
okay.
just covering all their bases, whatever they
Exactly,
can
just
get.
to make sure. Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
to make sure Dan O'Bannon makes sure that the director knows what he's going to be doing. Seeing Dan
Yeah.
O'Bannon is the director.
When they say get the bone saw, I cannot not think of Macho Man Randy Savage and bone saw is ready.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, from Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's completely unrelated and stuff. It's just that scene, while problematic, has amazing. It just sticks in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to do the work print comparison. And as I've been mentioning in the previous minutes, that the work print is the pretty much the dailies that are all put together into a full version of the movie, which is what you then use to figure out this is our story. And now let's start chopping it down. So the work print turns out to be about 15 to 20 minutes longer than the final product. So we're getting little bits and pieces. For example, this particular minute, which is minute 25 to 26, the work print goes from minute 27:54 to 28:54. This is pretty much parallel exactly as it is, shot for shot, no extra edits, no insert shots, no, hey, let's throw in a placement card for the for like special effects because it's not needed and all that. And so it's exactly the same. When we get to the little section of the cemetery sequence, of course, there is no music playing in the background because they don't have the only music that they had playing in the cemetery sequence was changed for the final film. The original version had Nasty Girl by Vanity playing that Trash was doing her performance in, which they then changed. You can hear the people stomping around in the background slightly of this because it pulls in the audio from the scene, and that's all we have. Because of course, there's no special effects overlay of the date, the timestamp, and all that sort of thing, and that's basically what we got for this particular minute. All right, so like we said earlier, this is we're coming up to the action sequence about to come down. We're about to be introduced to our final character of the cast. We're about to have some revelations of the other characters and whatnot. And yeah, soon the shit is about to hit the proverbial fan, and we're gonna be off and running.
We're just heading for the corkscrew of the roller coaster at the
Exactly,
moment.
exactly. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about this particular minute?
Uh, no, I think we've hit the notes. It being the tipping point of the film of this is where everything's gonna fall apart
Exactly. Yeah.
is so perfectly encapsulated in this one little minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just rewatching it and knowing it because I don't think you would know, like, watching for the first time, zombie films, there's going to be an outbreak,
Yeah. Exactly.
but the level of, or the extent of the chaos breeding from the scene it's very well made. It's amazing filmmaking.
Yeah, it's very well paced. It's
Yeah.
very well structured, which is a
Mm.
fantastic thing too. I mean, it's good coming from a known script writer who writes
Hmm.
for directors
Yeah.
because like I said, Dan O'Bannon is responsible for like the script for Alien. So which Ridley Scott relied on highly to be able
Hmm.
to like make the movie that he did,
Yeah.
and it's a big credit to the story writing that Dan O'Bannon did. Um, and again, a lot of credits that Dan O'Bannon has done in the past have also had the same effect and all that.
Mhm.
The fact that this one is one that he wrote and was able to direct just made it that much more special. Again, like he said in the commentary, there's certain things that he can't do due
Yeah.
to time restriction or budget restrictions, but still, with though even with those factors, this movie still has a fantastic look, feel, sound even to it. I
Hmm.
mean, if you get a chance to this movie once we get into the the returning zombies and all that, the soundscape is
Hmm.
so fantastic. If you got like a Blu-ray or the 4K version of this movie and all that, the sound is just so encompassing, especially when we have, again, if you haven't seen the movie, don't know why you're listening to minute 26 of a minute by minute breakdown and all that sort of thing. But
They just like the slow burn.
exactly, yeah, exactly. But yeah, once the zombies start coming up, that whole entire sequence where they're crawling out of the you hear the knocking on the inside of the coffins and all that
Mhm.
sort of thing, and the one creature crawling out of the ground, and yeah, it's just fantastic. So
One other scene from, or no, this 1 minute, one other part of this 1 minute was after, so when Bert is coming back down from the scaffolding and
mhm.
he's talking to the team and they're all or talking about what their next steps are.
Yes,
While I understand for filmmaking, you kind of want them looking at the audience, the positioning of the camera feels like we're part of the scheme or the plan. It's all three of them. They're all kind of looking over your like left shoulder almost. They're not looking at the camera, they're looking nearby it.
right,
And
yeah,
there it kind of feels there's even a scene like what the second I'm paused that it looks like Bert's looking right at me at the moment. And
yeah,
it feels like we are co-conspirators in this plan, that we are now kind of we are obviously rooting for these guys because
hmm
they're kind of lovable schmucks. These are our stooges,
Right.
and
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
we want the stooges to survive, even if they are making a big mess of everything.
Yeah.
But it just it feels like we're now we're even more invested in it with the framing and
Yeah, no, that's a great
yeah.
point. I mean, like the three of them having this conversation about the situation, but the camera itself is also very personally involved in this whole entire sequence. You can feel like you are the fourth member of the sequence. And like I had pointed out in the previous minute, that the audience is discovering the rules of the movie at the same time that the characters are. So it's not like
Yes.
we have any I mean, obviously, if you're watching the movie more than once, that doesn't count. But if
Yeah.
you're coming to this for the first time, you're learning how this universe runs at the same time that we're being introduced to the characters. But the great thing is, every single time a new character is brought into know what's going on, the explanation becomes so simplified and so direct that you're like, yes, no, that's how you would do it. Like, especially when the action gets like picks up and all that sort of thing. You don't have the time to sit them down and explain step by step. So you just blurt at them what to do and they instantly know what to do. And you're all like, yes, that's what you would do. You would yell at them like, no, you have to do this. You got to do this and all that sort of thing and whatnot. And it's again, goes to a very well structured script, very convincing cast as well to pull off the feel of these characters being real, like feeling like they are really real. So
While I would disagree with some of their choices,
yes,
I never had to doubt that a human in this situation would make this decision or have this thought process. I'm like, why are you guys doing this? Like, I get it, but why? Why?
Yeah, you'd be one of those voices like in the group, like, oh, do we really have to do this? And of course, yeah, you're like, yeah.
Guys, do we really need to split up? That doesn't seem like a good idea. Yeah, we'll cover more ground, but we're vulnerable.
Yeah.
Silence. So anyway.
Yeah. All right. So then on that note, we're going to wrap up this particular minute. Thank you, Mr. Mitch, for joining me here for minute 26. We're coming up on the Christmas season. Everyone listening, all that. Well, those that are listening to this as they air, I believe next week, if I've got my math done properly, is actually Christmas. So this is the pre-Christmas episode.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, happy holidays. However you celebrate it, whether you celebrate it or not. I want to thank the audience for, again, I keep mentioning that they are slowly but surely growing. One or two every single week join in on this wonderful train ride that we're on. And I want to thank them for sticking around, those that have been around, and looking forward to newer things up in the new year coming out from this particular podcast and the actual Planet Geek Productions in the new year. So that's something to look forward to as well. And do you got anything else to say there, Mr. Mitch? Oh, actually, Mitch is has a what is it? Letterboxd that you can follow. Yes, and just keep bringing it up. I mean, I don't know if you've put anything new since the last time. It's been a couple of weeks since then. So
I haven't updated in the past couple of weeks because I've only seen like a handful of films. Like I saw Flow last week, and I haven't put that up yet. It's M.I. Tully on Letterboxd. I'm starting to get back into Blue Sky, Mitchell Tully at Blue Sky, because I'm avoiding the other one.
Right. Yeah.
But I am a slow poster as it's wintertime, and I got nothing interesting to say at the moment besides snarky comments about zombies.
All right, so check out the show notes for links to Mitch's different social medias and all that sort of thing. And again, don't have anything else to say. Thanks again, Mr. Mitch. And until next time, see you next Wednesday. You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want to Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review.
Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
Yeah.
One of the other things is no, I don't know what one of the other things was. There was an idea there. There was an idea there, but then I looked down at my notes and I'm like, what was I gonna say? And nope.
I just
It
got
might
the
come to me.
image. Sorry,
Go ahead.
You first.
I mean, it'll probably come to me as I'm talking through something else, and like I'll instantly break to that and all that, and I can edit it later because that's the option that I have. But what did you have to say? There you go. Okay, so I'll put a link to all of Mitch's stuff on the the place in the words,
The notes and the
descriptors.
comments and
Yes,
the
exactly.
description,
Exactly.
eat the letters. So we don't do mail at the
What do we?
moment.
No, we're doing. What is it? We're doing.
No, I meant the
Show notes.
strike.
The show notes is the word I
Show
was
notes,
looking
yeah,
for.
yeah.
The show notes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's going to be heavily edited down.
Oh, I like the rambling. I was
Oh
also
no,
gonna...
I'll leave. Oh no, the rambling will be at the end of the
perfect.
episode, but I will for first time listening through, it'll be edited down.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed on your summary. You didn't say it was a roller coaster ride instead of a train ride. You said
Yeah,
train
I know.
ride.
I realized. Yeah, well, I'd also used roller coaster a couple of times, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. But I guess,
that's fair.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. I get it. I get it.
The only thing I got to go in is freaking well edit out my ums and ahs that sometimes are a little more than I think. Like I don't remember saying that so many times.
Yeah. It's just something subconscious, something you unconsciously do, and your brain just edits it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. On the spot, your brain's like, no, you didn't just say that. You listen to it back and like, how the crap did I not stop myself from doing it so many times? Yeah.
It's when you realize you have catchphrases or things you say often. Like I say 100% a lot. And I have a couple other sentences.
I've noticed that sort of thing comes up a lot in the episodes. So yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, I gotta try and work on my ums and whatnot. But
yeah. It's tricky because you have to have that self-awareness of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.